Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Chasing Rabbits. My name is Scott Brown, and you found my vlog dedicated to helping you become the leader that you always wished you had worked for. Tonight, I want to talk a little bit about the concept of conflict. Now, conflict gets a bad rap, I think, because when we think about conflict, we generally think about destructive conflict, tension-filled conflict, anger-filled conflict, toxic conflict, where one party has dug in their heels and the other party has dug in their heels, and there's a divide between the two, a chasm where no one is able to cross. That's really not what conflict is about. Yes, granted, there is toxic conflict, that's absolutely a thing. However, conflict is really just a difference of opinion on a topic. That's all you have. You can have conflicting opinions about anything. But conflict itself is not bad. Conflict becomes toxic when it becomes something that is unable to be communicated through. What I mean by that is when you have conflict, there's really two types. You have that toxic type of conflict, but there's also another type of conflict which is productive, which is necessary, which helps organizations and people grow. Normal conflict is really the source of growth. It's the source of creativity. It's the source of ingenuity. When you have two people in conflict, sometimes what you're doing is you're seeing the world a little bit differently, but you're working towards a common goal. You're working towards a common growth aspect. It doesn't mean that you're fighting, it just means that you see the world in different ways. When you're incorporating different perspectives into a conversation, you're allowing each other to experience the world through somebody else's lens. You're allowing somebody else to influence the way that you experience the world. And all that can do is help you grow. You as an individual can help grow your perspectives so that you can make better decisions. You can see the world differently. You can have more empathy. You can have more inclusivity within your decision making. There is nothing bad that happens when you are able to grow as a person and include somebody else's perspective. Where it becomes destructive is when the two sides stop having the ability to communicate of their perspective and stop listening. And instead, when one person is talking, the other one is waiting to respond. That's not what communication is supposed to be about. Communication is supposed to be about a sharing of information, a back and forth. There should be a duality to conversation where one person says something, the other one listens intently to what that person is saying, and then they process that, respond back, and there is an ebb and flow of the conversation, a sharing of information. Destructive conflict happens when that doesn't happen, when instead of having a dialogue, it becomes dual monologues, where you have one person digging in their heels in that this is the way it is, and another person digging their heels in that this is the way it is. Neither of those points are necessarily correct, but that's the perspective from which people are looking. We get stuck in seeing the world only through our own eyes. We have trouble sometimes seeing the world through somebody else's perspective. If ever there was a time in leadership to learn about how to see the world through somebody else's eyes, I think we're in it right now. Right now, we have so many folks that are so dead set that the only way to see the world is through their own perspective. That they are discounting what anybody else has experienced, what anybody else has seen, what anybody else has felt, what anybody else has lived. Just because something didn't happen to you doesn't mean that it didn't happen. Just because you haven't experienced something doesn't mean that it is not important. It can be incredibly important to the growth, not just of yourself, but of your organization, of your team, of others, of your followers. Allowing yourself to see the world in a different way opens you up to the possibility that maybe there are better ways to do things. Great leaders know that it's not just that they don't have all of the answers. Great leaders know they don't have all of the questions. They're constantly looking to learn and grow and develop. The way they do that is by asking questions, learning from that information, incorporating it into their worldview, and seeing the world a little bit differently as they move forward. They encourage other people's perspectives. They embrace other people's points of view. that is constructive conflict, because you're going to have a struggle as you're trying to incorporate somebody else's point of view into your own memory, into your own experience. There's going to be a natural conflict there. That doesn't mean that it's bad. All that means is that it's a struggle, it's a stress, and nothing good ever happens. Nothing grows in times of peace. Everything grows in times of stress. People are no different than plants in that way. We grow best when we are slightly stressed. Not mega stressed, but slightly stressed. Healthy conflict helps create that tension to allow you to grow, to challenge you, to move you. So next time you hear that conflict is bad, ask them why. Why do you think conflict is bad? What type of conflict is bad? Have a dialogue. If you find yourself having a conversation with somebody with whom you do not agree, stop and listen. Instead of judging, just listen. I think what we need right now is the ability to incorporate others' points of view, and maybe then we'll have a little bit more civility. And that can't be anything but a good thing. So conflict itself is not bad unless you allow it to be destructive and harmful and narrow the relationship. Conflict that broadens the relationship is always positive. Until tomorrow, my friends, I wish you well. Hope you have a great night, and I will see you tomorrow for another edition of Chasing Rabbits. Till then, my friends.